Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode
Mm.
of Exploring Aliveness. I'm here with my friend Pablo, and we're going to talk about what's alive for us and more deeply explore it.
Mm.
Hand it off to Pablo to kick
Mm.
us off on the topic.
I'm gonna own that I feel a bit shy. Um, I'm noticing there's a difference between us checking in not being on recording a few minutes ago to now being on recording. Um, I think it's quite cute. Ah, and I accept that. Whew. So yeah, episode 1, um, massive experiment we're running. I personally don't know where this is going, and I enjoy knowing that. And pleasure.
Hmm.
Hmm. I heard someone recently say that when the body is in pleasure, it's also in safety and in healing mode. And I was wondering about that today. And I'm like, how could I investigate that in my experience at some point and see if it's true for me or not? So I'm curious about that. And I'm also curious about an experience I had probably a couple weeks ago where I was driving home and I placed my hand on my lower abdomen underneath my belly button. And I started experiencing a lot of pleasure. And it felt overwhelming at moments. And I was like, what the fuck is going on for me right now? So that's my most recent pleasure, like big pleasure moment. And I witnessed some resistance around it. Um, so yeah, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah. And what that brings up for me as you share is the big pleasure moments I've had in the past
Mm,
few weeks. One was with you. We had a
mm,
conversation where I was attempting to own my pleasure without shame.
mm,
And this was during a solo retreat. So I was in a cabin by a lake and I was meditating and sitting with my emotions. And every day I had a call, like one call where a friend of mine witnessed me as I was going through this process. Around day 3, day 4, a lot of pleasure started showing up in my system. And intellectually, I don't fully understand it, but currently my understanding, like if I tried to guess as to what was happening, was I was resisting less and less.
mm,
And there's something about just being alive that is incredibly pleasurable.
mm,
The classic definition of pleasure, like the one that I like and have heard, is the one by Lowen, which is feeling the sensations moving in one's body.
mm,
The thing is, it feels like all sensations are always moving in the body when you like are noticing it without resistance. So yeah, that's what comes up as the first thing. And during retreat, where I was slowly reducing the amount of friction I had being away from the world, being separate, I was in a way like suffusing in my own self without
mm,
resistance. And there was a lot of pleasure just flowing through me.
mm,
And when the walls of separateness feel pleasurable, they slowly melt away. And there's
mm,
this like feeling of unity and oneness that comes with being in pleasure, which is incredibly healing.
mm, mm. Hearing you say that, I'm curious about the process itself for allowing pleasure to come online. Since I'm imagining that you were first experiencing some sort of resistance, but then you work with that resistance, and that led to these feelings of unity and pleasure that you're just talking about.
Yeah. I'll talk about like a when you throw that back to me, I'm like a very simple example this morning.
Mm,
I was um I was having a lot of doubt come up this morning around just money, like making money, how to make money and what's going to happen and I need to make money and this and that and that. And all of those questions only come up under the assumption that money is really hard to make, or I can't make it. And it was like, cool. So I was investigating that, like sitting with the question, like, it feels like I can't make money, or like the other places, like, I can't make money doing the things I want to do. And as I sat with that assumption or that limiting belief that I had, like I asked a simple question, which was, if I could make money doing what I wanted to do, what does that mean about me?
Mm.
Because I can't make money doing what I want to do implies that I am not good enough, which feels like resistance, which feels a little like stuck. It feels heavy.
Yeah.
But if I can make money doing what I want, then it means I'm good enough.
Mm.
And I sat with that, and immediately there was pleasure. Like immediately there was pleasure. And it feels like whenever there is a flow, whenever there is like, oh yeah, I can be here right now as I am without expectations, without not being good enough, um, there is going to be pleasure. And during the retreat, I was a lot of inquiry into a lot of topics, like how can I sit in the unknown? How can I be knowing that I'm fated to die? How can I be with all the parts of me that feel abandoned
Mm.
and welcome it, allow it, not see myself as bad, not good enough, or wrong in any way when I'm with it. And when there is that welcoming that I am good enough right now, then the pleasure is automatically there. Because the not good enough only comes when I'm thinking about the future. And when I'm here in the present, when I'm good enough, then I can just feel what is here. What is here is sensations moving in the body, and it's pleasurable.
Mm. Mm. All right. So, and what I just heard you say, a few things jump up for me in excitement. And it's like, I want to slow down that process and name a few key aspects of what you're doing with your attention precisely. And I'm
Yes.
hearing you say that you're bringing it to the present moment. You're in a
Yes.
present moment state, not thinking about the future or the past. And you're also aware of your edges or your limitations and then accepting them as they are. And in that acceptance and focus on the present, they dissipate? Or what happens at that point?
So there's like a piece here that I want to clarify of like, it's not about accepting what is. It's
Mm.
like that's a piece of it. It's like, oh, I can accept that I'm not good enough, but that maybe not might not be true. It's about like accepting the truth. And what I'm saying is truth feels like little fucking wishy-washy, but it's like it is in a way like questioning the assumptions and being with seeing the truth and the not truth of both. Like I am good enough and I'm not good enough. Can I be with both and like not feel shame?
Mm.
And it's being able to see the truth in those statements without shame in a way that allows for not caring about the future. And then that automatically like unclenches the part of me that's going to the future, that's resisting this particular future that might happen. And that brings me to the present.
Mm.
And then when I am in the present moment, there's this feeling of being in the not knowing. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen right now. I don't know what I'm going to say next.
Mm.
But in the acceptance of that, there is an immense amount of pleasure.
Mm.
In the acceptance of that and just taking a breath, there is an immense amount of pleasure.
Mm. 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 Yeah, a big word that jumps up for me right now is non-judgmental observation of your experience. You're not picking any sides. You're not saying, I agree with you or I agree with you. I hold you both in my consciousness. And in that, there appears to be some sort of relaxation and you drop into what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
I want to throw a ball back to you. Because my experience of pleasure is there's a soft pleasure in what I described, but sometimes there's big emotions.
Hmm.
And when I'm with the big emotions, there's a lot of pleasure. because emotions, energy, and motion without resistance is just a shit ton of pleasure. So I'm curious from the conversation we've gotten to so far, how that reframes that experience in the car. Like, how would you try to understand that experience in the car where you're feeling a lot of pleasure when you put your hand in your lower belly?
Yeah, as I play back that scene in the theater of my mind, what I immediately notice is there was a lot of resistance present, and there was a lot of not wanting the resistance to be there so that I can experience whatever I was experiencing more fully. And paradoxically, in that pushing away the resistance simply said, well, go fuck yourself. And I'm like, oh. And I'm having flashes of when I got further into my drive, it's like a 45-minute commute. When I got further into my drive, I started noticing it again. And this time I told myself, it's okay to resist whatever it is that I'm experiencing. And counterintuitively, whatever I was experiencing, which I labeled as pleasure, started to increase. And in learning and in noticing that, I realized, wow, there's a resistance to pleasure. And what I've heard other people say in the past is, oh, you're actually going to find out that what you're really afraid of experiencing is these great states of joy and love and pleasure. And I'm like, sure, whatever. And now that I've had a glimmer of a direct experience, I'm like, holy shit, it checks out that for me, yes, there is a resistance to pleasure. Ah. And it also checks out that in the accepting of the resistance and not needing anything to go any other way, something moves. It's like I remove myself from the equation of me needing to do this or that. And in that removal, something flows.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see.
Cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, like this adds like a new piece of like there's something about like pleasure kind of amplifies itself sometimes.
Hmm.
It's like there's something pleasurable about wanting. Like about this just like, oh yeah, like just like wanting something. Or like even anticipation or excitement. There's like something pleasurable about like, oh, I'm really excited to talk to you. And there's something pleasurable about that because it's emotion.
Hmm.
And pleasure is pleasurable and it feels good. And you can be excited about feeling pleasure. So there's like this thing that happens when there's a lot of pleasure, which is you get excited to feel pleasure, which is pleasurable.
Hmm.
And then there's more pleasure that you're more excited to feel pleasure. And it kind of like, it's like a audio feedback loop that's like going off. And as you're with it, it like fills your body with so much sensation.
Hmm.
And it's like you're suffusing yourself in pleasure.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've been running an experiment where I do that. I keep forgetting to do it, which is interesting, but I wanted to, the intention was to do that more often.
Hmm.
And what I've seen,
What specifically?
to suffuse myself with pleasure
Okay.
whenever I want to. And I forget to do that. So I'm curious what's happening in my head that's making me forget that I can always be in pleasure.
Hmm.
But when I do that, it feels incredibly safe. Like
Hmm.
there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do.
Hmm.
I feel good. And isn't that what anyone is looking for? There's
Hmm.
like this like feeling of this like ground
Hmm. Hmm.
in being with my own pleasure. But yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. I have so many things to say in return. But before I say anything in return, I want to own that a part of me wants to be like a step ahead into the future. And it's like, oh, what's next? What am I going to ask next? And what is Samek going to say next? And how is that going to sound? And like, there's like this like preparation bias or anxiety happening. And since we're speaking about pleasure and being in the present moment and accepting whatever is happening, I keep coming back to accepting what's happening without like, oh, it's bad to have this anxiety or it's good to be here grounded, it's like, oh, it's whatever it is, it's happening. And I find myself noticing more sensations arise in my body. So in a way, I've taken on what we're speaking in this moment as a practice, as a live practice, um, which feels really good to own and put a name to. And I'm noticing dancing in a distinction between joy and pleasure. And I'm curious, how do you see them different or the same?
That's a good question. They feel very similar.
Mm,
Like, I'm curious if one can feel pleasure without feeling joy,
mm,
which feels true. Like, for some reason, trying to understand that. Like you can have like a shit ton of pleasure and maybe not as much joy. I don't know. Like, I feel like when you're not resisting things though, there's this just contentment and joy that
mm,
just comes. Like it's like this moment is perfection almost like that comes online.
mm,
Um, but there's like a piece that I'm trying to understand of like pleasure and safety feels related, but not completely the same. Because sometimes I can feel incredibly pleasurable, but not safe in my pleasure. And there's no joy in that. But when there's like just pleasure and like a sinking into that pleasure, then there's a safety and then there's a joy as well.
mm. Okay. So I'm hearing you say that there's unsafe pleasure and there's safe pleasure. And safe pleasure comes with joy, and unsafe pleasure doesn't come with joy.
Yes.
Okay. What makes that the case? What makes it the case that joy can't be experienced when pleasure isn't safe?
I'm assuming this is like an assumption, or at least what I've noticed in my system when I'm feeling alive is when pleasure doesn't feel safe, I shame myself
Mm,
to try to stop the pleasure. It's like too much energy is moving through my body, and like one mechanism to, in a way, like regulate myself is to shame myself to stop, to try to stop it. The thing that happens when I shame myself is I feel bad about myself.
mm,
So it's like if there's too much pleasure, like, and you're scared of it, or I'm scared of it, when I'm scared of too much pleasure, a regulation strategy, like a not very efficient regulation strategy kicks in, and that might be like collapsing or like resisting or shaming, and that doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel happy. So like there's like a pleasure there. It's pleasurable, but it's not fully pleasurable.
mm,
So I guess like unresisted safe pleasure is joy. But there like safety and pleasure does feel like an axis. Maybe like the movement of sensation is one axis and safety is another axis, and like the top right is like pleasure.
mm, mm.
Maybe
Yeah,
like
this.
fluidity of energy and safety.
Mm. Yeah, and hearing your response, what comes up for me is, oh, does the safety emerge out of pleasure because one is placing one's attention on sensations and not picking any sides and letting them be exactly as they are? So there's no threat projected onto the sensations. And then the sensations do whatever the sensations are going to do. And if safety isn't happening at the moment, then I can see how that can bring the system into safety. How does that check out for you?
Yeah. It's like
Mm.
there's no assumed threat. So it's like nothing to protect. And that
Oh,
in itself feels really safe.
wow. Uh, Something about how you just said that triggered this relaxation response in my system. And I noticed how my shoulders just dropped. Mm. Wow. Yeah. Mm. Uh, right now, I can see how I'm holding this subtle judgment towards this anticipation that I named earlier. And in that judgment, I'm creating like some sort of like threat feedback inside of me. It's like, that's not okay. What? That's not okay. And as soon as I'm like, hey, it's okay. And then like, oh, this relaxation happens, and then this like the funny thing is I would label this as joy, not pleasure.
Mm.
Yet when I label it with pleasure, it like magnifies. And when I so this is something I love to do, and it's like, all right, I'm feeling pleasure, clearly, and I can enjoy myself feeling pleasure. And it like champagnes.
Like it amplifies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like dropping a Mentos into a Coca-Cola. Ah, yeah, good shit. Oh,
And it also like the thing that's coming up next is pleasure is incredibly healing
mm,
because
mm,
it's showing that there's nothing to protect, that
oh,
you're not broken in any way, that you can just be here and
mm.
it's okay.
Oh, amen, man. Mm, mm. Ooh, I notice how much I enjoy trying on in the present moment what we're speaking about, and not just grokking it cognitively, but bringing it down to my body, and then like letting my heart be involved, or my emotion system to be open and involved. Ah, oh, now, if I could say anything from this place, I would say, oh, wow, what makes me think that anything different is more efficient?
Oh, that made me think. And what came up when you said that was like, there's something about, wow, this is like just illogical.
Mm,
Um, there's something about knowing something like identity or like a belief that feels safe because it feels protective. It's not, I guess, not really safety. It feels protective because it's a wall. It's like I am a coder. So then I have these walls of being a coder. You put myself in a box
mhm,
and I'm operating from the box, but now I have walls to protect me. And it's protecting something. And there's like an assumption that like there's something that I need to be protected from. And then in the act of having the walls, it's like I am protected. And there's like a sense of safety. But it
mm,
isn't like a felt sense of safety. It's like this intellectual safety.
mm,
And then there's like when emotions are really big, I would say the primary regulatory strategy that I have is creating a box. Like, I would say wanting is an emotion. Like, I want to date this person. But now feeling that wanting, like letting that energy of that wanting flow through me is incredibly pleasurable. But it's also gonna like destroy identities. Like it's like maybe I feel not good enough. I don't feel deserving. I um what's it called? Like it's like I don't get to want that. Like all of those
Mm.
identities like get washed away because you don't know. You have to
Mm.
be in the not knowing in the present moment. Just know that you want to go date this person or
Oh.
ask them out. And there's something a lot safer intellectually when instead of being with the flow of the sensations, the wanting, or even the anger or whatever, I can send it out into the future. It's like, oh, if I do this, then I can date this person. Like you create this like limiting belief, this wall. It's like, oh, if I jump over this wall, or like if I get to this point, then I'll be able to get this want. I can feel this wanting without feeling not safe, without like the identity death being a big deal. Um, and then in the act of doing that, there is there's identity. And there's also this feeling of not good enough, and then like a loss of pleasure. And
Mm.
then when you actually get the thing you want, like you work hard to get the thing you want, then you allow the wanting to flow. And then there's like this like brief moment of pleasure before the next wanting arises and you like do the same process over again.
The word cognitive dissonance kept popping up in my experience as I heard you speak. And when I zoom into that for a moment and take a look at it, I'm interpreting your experience as, oh, I have this idea about myself. I'm a coder, or I'm someone who doesn't tell people that I want to date them. Yet there's this energy that's feeling alive and is impulsing you to do that. Yet if you take that action, you would have to face this idea that you have about yourself, which doesn't match what you're feeling. And in that, there's this like something is happening, right? Some sort of friction, some sort of rumble. And yeah, I wanted to share that that came up. And I'm wondering how that fits with what you just shared.
I feel like that I like the words you use. It feels more accurate.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's like the feeling itself, the emotion itself is going to change identity, like the impulse, the thing, the action that wants to happen can be something that contradicts everything you've ever done before.
Hmm.
Because maybe that the impulse is the right, like the based on everything you know and have experienced, is the
Hmm.
best thing you could do based on who you are. But the impulse might be outside the box of the identities you hold. And
Hmm.
there's something about, I guess, like there's like the pleasure piece of like in the act of feeling the wanting, it's pleasurable and you could go into the unknown. But there's also the actual death of identity,
Hmm.
which can be pleasurable. Like grief can be pleasurable. But a death of an identity, like has a lot of energy stored in it.
Hmm.
Like, especially if it's, I am an
Hmm.
owner of a cat and my cat passes away and I'm no longer an owner of a cat. Like that relationship dies, that identity dies, and there's a grieving. And it's almost like letting all the impulses flow all the time might be too dysregulating for people who resist grief, including myself,
Yeah.
instead of like continuously flowing. Um, unless you see through identity itself, then you have this like broad open mind where your sense of self is unitive,
Hmm.
like the enlightened people.
Hmm.
And then you can move through the world where it is. I think there's like a Vajrayana saying, or is it Tibetan saying of like mind is wide as the sky, action is fine as barley flour, or you're moving in that way. But it makes sense. It's like pleasure is healing, and pleasure will destroy everything you think you are in some
Oof.
ways.
Oof.
And that's scary.
Oh man. Oof. Yeah, I'm giving myself a moment to let that all land. Oof. Yeah. I'm having this cool visual like understanding of your last share, and it's coming in the form of a metaphor. And it's, I'm taking pictures of my life, and I took a picture at one time of being an owner of a cat, right? And I'm holding on to that picture really tightly. And then life happens, and then I need to accept that that picture is no longer accurate. And in the releasing that image, there's all this energy that's released, and many times we would call that, oh, I'm grieving a situation, and there's some sort of letting go, there's some sort of loss. And when I also look at it through the lens of pleasure, pleasure is like inviting me to let go of the images that I'm holding on to and to just connect with the live stream of my life in this moment. And the live stream, by definition, is not holding on to any specific instance of the live stream. It's a stream. There's no like, oh, let me stop and like identify myself with this part of the stream. It's like, no, it's moving, and in a sense, it's moving my body, and it's moving me to take action. And I'm now recognizing that the more fluid my cognitive capacity is to embrace an identity or not embrace it, even if it's momentarily, the less friction there is to the pleasure as it's flowing. Since now I'm starting to see, like, oh, I block my pleasure mainly because I say, no, this pleasure is leading me to behave in ways that do not fit my worldview. Therefore, it is dangerous. If I let it flow, I'm going to do shit that doesn't fit with my current character image. What the fuck is that about? Um, Yeah, so it felt really enjoyable to share that bit with you.
Yeah, I want to reflect that back because that was amazing. Like, life goes from pictures to a movie that you're
Ah,
watching. And that sounds like such a great way to
ah,
describe it all. And the thing is, like, you're not any of the pictures in the movie. You're
oof,
just like the watcher of the movie unfolding in itself.
oh,
That is what it means to let pleasure flow.
oh, oof. I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna add that I've noticed there's a distinction between being the witness of the flow of the stream and then being a participant in the flow and the stream without letting myself be drowned or taken fully away by the stream itself. Like there's a way in which I can, oh yeah, pleasure is happening and I'm noticing it. And there's a way and it can be like, whoo, pleasure is happening and I am noticing it and I am living it right now. And it has nothing to do about me. It's just moving and emerging. Um, and I can be like, whoop, yep, pleasure is going on. And I can be like, "Whoop," and it's writing right up my ball sack and up my head and through my whole like system. And there's a different quality when I take one position or the other. One feels like I'm stepped into my experience, and the other feels like I'm stepped out of my experience. And I wonder how that tracks for you.
Hmm. It's almost like I'm imagining like there is like an observer, like you're observing yourself, observing the world, and you're in your body from and observing everything in first person.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in the movie and it's
Mm-hmm.
flowing through you.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like like agents, like baby observers. Like maybe like a thing in your head that's like narrating your world, or like another part of you that's like speculating. And like when you identify with the agents instead of being first person, like letting life flow, then there is this feeling of being stepped out of life. While
Yeah.
there is pleasure, you're not the pleasure.
Yeah.
But when you're stepped into life, everything is just in first person, the pleasure is flowing through you. It's like, yeah, this is life. Like I am life. I am alive. But the other one is like, I am seeing aliveness. How does that track?
Yeah, that checks out for me. And Actually, today I started to draw this distinction between when am I in my experience and describing it from an events point of view, like things that are happening now, and when am I in this like narrative or storyteller point of view or descriptive aspect. And I'm like, whoa, I can move from, oh, right now I'm experiencing a thought and that thought says I'm not allowed to have so much fun in this thing that we're doing together. Great. Which is very different from me getting lost in that thought and being like, wow, I'm not allowed to like have so much fun and like buying into it and losing myself in it. So I can see how I can become almost like sequestered or stolen or taken away from my first person stance into this other, some other, whatever we want to call it. You were using the word agent.
or
And
narrator.
yeah, description or like something becomes meta to my experience and I'm no longer in my primary state. I'm in some meta state, some abstraction of what's actually happening. Oh, I, I'm having a meta moment that's saying, I love how much I enjoy speaking about these things. And I can also come back from my primary state and be like, oh, I can see how I go out to describe my experience and I can see how I can come back. Cool. And I will admit that I feel we went off on some tangent and now I'm lost.
Yeah. No, it feels like, okay, I'm gonna tie it back in. Um, we're exploring pleasure, and pleasure just feels like the flow of sensation, the flow of aliveness. Like pleasure is aliveness. It's like things are moving as it is, and you're in and of the world. You are the pleasure, you are the aliveness, you are the world, like a movie that's being played through you that you get to be a part of. And it's almost like the things that stop pleasure is the identification with any of the pictures of the movie. Like identifying and then abstracting, creating meaning for like meaning making isn't bad, but there's a way in which like you can make meaning and then identify with the meaning, like hold on to it. And you like take a picture from the movie and you're like, now this is a part of you instead of like letting it continuously flow. It's almost like every scene of the movie is creating sensations in your body. And if you feel the pleasure, if you let it flow through you, then you go to the next scene without having conditioning, without having residue, without having holding on to a picture, part of the past. And it's almost like it's a pipe. Like pleasure is this pipe, and the more you let it flow, the more it also flows the things that you've not felt in the past and like integrates you into being more and more whole. Um, and and the act of resisting pleasure is just resisting life. And when you resist life, it stays. It like freezes, waiting for you to feel it again.
Wow, man, I'm having this really vivid experience right now where I'm just letting go into what's happening in this moment between us. And I feel fear in doing that. Yet I also feel incredibly like waves of pleasure. Like I feel these tingles on the surface of my skin and I can feel them from my feet all the way up to like to my neck. And I'm like, oh, there's a way in which I can persistently be here with you in this moment, allowing my words to come out however they're going to come out without worrying about like, when are we going to stop this recording? What are we going to do with it later? Oh no, what are people going to think about? Like when I let go of going into those thoughts and I'm just here with you, it feels incredibly vulnerable for me in this moment since I have no parachute, I have no plan B, I have no escape route as to what can I do with whatever may emerge. Um, yeah, it's also like electric.
Alive.
Absolutely, yeah.
uh, there's like this experience. It's this pleasure, as I've done more and more work, has become something I can access
Mm.
easier and easier. But like as I've like talked to girls, I guess, who don't feel safe in their bodies, what I've seen is like there's like limited places where they could feel pleasure. Like it's like, oh, sex or cuddling or like sound baths, and like that's where they go. And going into those spaces where you're doing sound baths or cuddling with someone like can be incredibly healing, because maybe that's the only time they're able to actually be in the body to feel their
Mhm.
pleasure. And in the act of feeling the pleasure, it's gonna move all these sensations,
Mm.
all these emotions, and slowly integrate the whole, like all the pieces of resisted experiences that happen in the past, especially if like someone has a lot of trauma, or like so like scenes in the movie that create a lot of sensation, especially if it's not consensual. Like I would say like one definition of trauma is a loss of an identity without like consent. Like that can be hard to take pleasure in.
Mm.
So then it becomes like stuck, and there's like, if you have a lot of traumatic experiences, if you have a lot of loss of identity that's not consensual, that doesn't even feel right. Like it's like, oh, I'm wrong for having lost that identity and this experience happened to me. Then it's going to be more and more stuckness in the body and more like rigidity and collapse
Mm.
and less pleasure in someone's life.
Mm. Mom, and I can't help but notice that it's so often, and I'll speak for myself and for what I commonly hear in the language that people speak around me. It's so common for me to hear in myself and others the word am, I am. And I wonder to what extent using that specific word with the I before it creates, like the you were saying earlier, like this box. And then like anything that deviates from that box is now becomes some sort of danger or some sort of like difficult situation that I won't know how to be with. And I'm like, whoa, what's up with that word? And like I have all these questions about where it came from and when did it get popular and what happens when we start examining that word and noticing what it does to our identity. And then what would be the effect of pleasure if that word was replaced for something that's more fluid instead of like, I am Pablo and I am recording this episode, or like it's like, oh no, there's I can be with my experience in a way that doesn't feel so rigid with the I amness of speaking. Cool. I'm gonna throw a dart and anchor that for later because that's a really juicy rabbit hole I want to go down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious about how language relates to pleasure as
Oof.
well. Like that's what I got from that. It's like, oh yeah, in a way, like a lot of our unconscious, we access via language to try to verbalize, to try to express. It's like I mean, the movie is being played and all of it is kind of essential. Like it's indescribable. Like you can't describe the act of drinking a glass of water to someone who has never done it before.
Hmm.
You can try your best, they will never get it. It's like every experience is essential, and language is a way to like point at the thing that's happening. And there's probably like some ways where language creates stuckness and lack. Like there's something happening with language and pleasure, and that I don't think I've ever thought about before. So that
Mm.
sounds incredibly exciting.
Yeah, fuck. Hmm. Yeah, what comes up for me is that language can amplify, in my experience, language can amplify, reduce, and cut off pleasure. And it's like, whoa, if I can do all those three things with my language, how mindful am I in the ways that I'm using language to relate with pleasure? Hmm, cool.
Cool. I feel like we went so many places.
Yeah, if I'd had to make momentary conclusion of where we are, pleasure seems to be like water in a sense. Like it can mix with so many other substances and it can take so many forms and it can serve so many different functions. It feels like hmm like I just got stuck. It feels primary. Like, you know how there's primary colors and then you combine colors and you get other colors? It feels like pleasure is like a primary color in the sense of the emotional world of human beings.
Hmm. I feel like all the emotions are pleasure
Mm.
in a sense. Like
That's fucking with my brain right now.
like there's the act of having an emotion, of like anger or sadness or
Uh,
fear or grief is all of them, happiness, joy. But they're all just sensations moving in the body. Like anger is this like flow of heat into my hands that's like making me upright, wanting to do something. But like unresisted, it is a flow of energy moving into my hand, wanting me to move. It's pleasurable. Sadness is like this like softness
uh,
moving up and making me want to
uh,
cry. And it's just sensations moving up and wanting, do this movement. And it's like they're like it's like I said before, it's like scenes in a movie that creates like it's like every experience is metabolized as sensations and a movement and a emotion. But they're all just sensations moving in the body in this way. And it's like pleasure is all of the just the movement of that sensation. While
mm,
emotions feel like buckets, like for particular ways in which energy is moving or like energy is formed or energy wants to dissipate in your system
mm.
or my system and systems.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that pleasure functions as like the container or the structure allowing for the unfolding of whatever's inside of it, which could be any emotion in whatever shape and form it's taking. That's coming up for me.
Container.
Or structure or bridge or vehicle or conduit. Like
Yeah.
it's
Conduit is the one that
mm,
feels the most accurate because it's like pleasure feels boundaryless. Like when you let yourself have pleasure, it melts the walls. It doesn't contain it.
mhm.
I don't know, how does that land in you?
Yeah, there's it.
I mean, there's a paradox here, so I don't. Yeah,
Yes, 100%. I'm noticing it right now because it's like a borderless conduit. It's like
boundless.
a conduit that has no boundaries or wrappers, yet it is in some manner it's giving like direction or form to whatever it is that wants to be expressed through the specific like body configurations that these emotions take when they show up.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like I know more about pleasure now than I did an hour ago, and I'm happy with that.
Same here.
Yeah.
I
I'm gonna let you do
love
the outro if
Yeah, I'd love to wrap up with both of us coming up with an experiment we would love to run for the next week, even if we don't end up running it, assuming we could run it on pleasure, just to see what we come up with.
based on the conversation we've had so far, it's like when I'm not feeling pleasure, ask myself the question, what identity would I have to lose if I felt pleasure right now?
My whole perineum just clenched hearing you say that. Whew. Whew. Nah, no. Let's see which one comes up for me. Ah, oh, yeah, something to the accord of like tune into my present moment experience and don't take any sides, just be with it and notice what happens to the quality or the level of pleasure when I take no sides, yet be with myself and just like tune into pleasure when I do that and see what I can learn about picking or not picking sides and pleasure going up or down or doing whatever it's going to do.
Awesome.
Cool.
Outro.
Outro. Okay. I've never done an outro before, so I'm just going to wing it. I personally really enjoyed our first episode ever on pleasure. I'm feeling super excited for whatever we're going to end up talking about next. And yeah, I I feel curious for what other people's experience was listening to us speak about pleasure. I'm curious what other people, how they view pleasure, how they experience it, what they've learned about pleasure. And I'm sure this is going to end up in some sort of public forum, and whatever that public forum ends up being, please send us what you think about pleasure, how you experience pleasure, and we can start cultivating a worldwide conversation on pleasure and see where the fuck that goes.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, man.
Have a great
Peace.
one.
You too.